All right, so welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to practically use generative AI to support what we do in project delivery. So I would just want to start off by saying I'd like this to be a real interactive discussion, if we can. So please feel free, if you have questions and comments as we go through, please pop them in the chat. David Huggan from our team will be moderating the chat, and he will break in at appropriate times if I'm speaking. But I'm conscious that we might have some real serious AI power users on the call. I know we've got some people who haven't used AI very much, but if you have got experiences with using these tools, please share it with the group. That's what we're here for, really, to share all of our experiences rather than, I know you guys want to hear what I've got to say, but I'm also keen to hear what you guys have got to say. So please don't hesitate to drop things into the chat. Before I kick off, just a straw poll, really, with a show of hands. Who has used generative AI tools, things like ChatGPT, Copilot, Llama, Gemini? Yep. See Wendy's hand up. Got 5 others there. Yeah. 7, 9, 8, 10. So we've got some expertise in the room, which is great. So you guys might add to what I'm saying. So I've been really in this world for about the last 12 months, particularly since ChatGPT. I've been using particularly ChatGPT for about 12 months now, and I use it every day. I really find that it saves me time. It's a huge asset to my productivity and the productivity of our team. I am using the paid version of GPT. So the things that I'll show you today, I'll be utilizing the latest version, which is ChatGPT 4.0, and it's the latest paid version. I think I haven't seen the free version for a while, but I think you can probably do most of what you do with the paid version in the free version. I think you just don't get quite as many requests. So a couple of weeks ago, what prompted this meetup presentation, actually, I went to a presentation for founders and business leaders, and they had an industry presentation from a guy called Tim Martin. I'd encourage you to look Tim up. He's kind of a trainer in the AI space, and he kind of canvassed the audience as I just did and said, how many people are using these tools? And about half the room had never touched an AI tool. And of the other half, most people had a kind of a little go of playing with them, but had kind of not got what they needed from it and had just kind of left it alone. So very few people were using them as a day-to-day tool to support any of their roles, really, to really support productivity. I say that blew me away because I use it every day. So the thought occurred to me, we can probably talk in practical terms about how this can support PMOs and project managers every day. So that's what I want to do today. I want to kind of do a little bit of show and tell around how we use it and how it might be able to support you. All right, so agenda for today's session. I'm going to talk a little bit for those that haven't used the tools about what the tools are, how they work, just a basic overview, just spend a few minutes doing that. Then I'm going to get into the practical part of the session. I'm going to talk about specific ways that we can use the tools, and I'm actually going to demonstrate some of that as well. We'll talk a little bit about some of the risks of these solutions. Some organizations aren't yet endorsing the use of AI for their people because of these risks, so it's worth talking about them a bit, I think, and talking about, is there any kind of workarounds for some of that stuff as well. And then we'll open the session up to any questions at the end. For those who've just joined us, if you've got questions, please pop them into the chat. David will be moderating the chat. Happy to take questions and comments as we go along. Okay, so what do we mean when we talk about generative AI? So there's more than these kind of
own QR codes, right? That needs to be done.
What? Yeah, please put yourselves on mute if you're just coming in. So there's a few kind of common generative AI tools, or what we call large language models, and you will have probably heard of most of these. Certainly, OpenAI's ChatGPT is probably the most famous one, the one we're kind of all hearing about. It was announced this week that Apple are actually going to leverage OpenAI's tool in their technology. Microsoft are kind of reasonably quick off the mark with their Copilot solution. You've probably, if you're a Facebook or Instagram user, you'll have noticed that Meta have put Llama embedded into their solutions now, and Google have got their Gemini solution. So all of these household names are coming out with large language models for generative AI, and if it isn't already, it's going to become a part of the way all of us interact with technology going forward. The version of ChatGPT that I'm using was released in March, and it represented quite a big step forward from the last version. So if you haven't seen it for a while, you might be surprised at how much it does now. And any time now, ChatGPT 5 is going to drop, and that's going to be enabled with voice interactivity. So think Siri, but actually much more seamless, like having a conversation with another person. And you might have heard in the news there's been a bit of a delay to that because they actually kind of stole Scarlett Johansson's voice, and she's suing them. So this technology is in the news every day, and often not for the best reasons. So the thing to know about all of these large language models is they're kind of like empty boxes. They use pattern recognition and probability to match answers. So it's like, a calculator doesn't know that it contains numbers, and washing machines don't know that they're washing clothes. Even though we can be fooled sometimes because it is artificial intelligence, it's just matching patterns with what we put in. ChatGPT as well has about 100 million users at the moment. So you can see there's a lot of pressure to get better with this stuff and to advance the technology. One of the things that happens with every release is that they get the capacity to take more information. So ChatGPT's current version at the moment will do about 300 pages of text. You can ask it to summarize text or get the, summarize text, probably a good way of putting it. So 300 pages. There's a beta version of Gemini that's out that's going to be able to read 300,000 words. So it can already, it's on beta, but it's 300,000 words or an hour of video. They haven't told us what ChatGPT 5 will be able to handle. They call it context. They haven't told us what the context of ChatGPT 5 will be yet, but it's every time they do a release, it comes with the capability to consume more information. So one of the keys to successfully using these tools is in the way we engage with them, and we call those prompts. So very simple example of a prompt on the screen. So write an explanation of thermodynamics in 30 words. Fit the words flying fish in there, and you come out with exactly what you've asked for. There's a lot of nuance to writing prompts. So that you could ask for, if you just, for example, asked for an explanation of thermodynamics, it would probably give you 1,000 words. And so you have to refine exactly what it is that you're looking for. And to do that, you need to understand the model. So you need to know what the model can and can't do. So you need to be aware that it might not always be right. You need to be aware that it might come with errors, or it might come with biases. It might, if you're using free versions, it might come with a knowledge cutoff. So you need to understand the limitations of what it can give you. You also need to really practice with writing prompts. One of the things I've gotten much better at over the past few months is really refining those prompts, so more quickly I get what I need. And I think there's talk that prompt engineering is going to be one of the most important skills for employees to have in the future. So engaging with these models, as I said, is going to become more and more important. So some examples of prompt engineering. So, tell me about AI. You'll get chapter and verse on AI. But if you want something more nuanced, then you have to refine that prompt. and being clear, being specific, and providing as much context as you can will always get you better results. So some tips on prompting. Break down your request into simple instructions. I know I sometimes have a tendency to just throw the kitchen sink at it, do A, B, C, D, and actually you'll get a much better result if you ask for A than you ask for B. One of the big tips that I've learned recently, and it's really improving the quality of what I'm getting out, is I will ask for something, but then I will ask the model to critique it or to tell me what's missing. And by asking it to critique itself, it actually does considerably refine the quality. One of my favorite prompts is if I'm looking for something complex, it's good for instructions. Actually, give me some instructions on how to write code, for example, how to write this piece of code, and saying explain it to me like I'm 10. It breaks it down into really clear, simple, easy to understand instructions. Really, really powerful. And if you're not getting what you need, don't give up and go home, because, as I say, in the future, you will be expected to engage with these models. So if you're not getting what you need, keep refining your prompt, and keep asking the questions. So I'm going to give you a bit of an example now. Let me clear this. This is just, all of the information that I'm going to put into the models today has all been sourced online, so there's no sensitive data or anything. When we come to talk about some of the risks of using these solutions, we'll talk about what happens to the data. But I'm just going to copy this and I'll bring ChatGPT up if I have it somewhere. Thought it was open. So if I just drop, so this was just a JPEG file I think I found somewhere. If I drop that in and say, please explain this diagram to me. You don't need to say please, of course, it's a machine, it's just a habit. You also don't need to be too preoccupied with spelling or grammar. If you get it mostly right, it will just do it for you. So everything you could possibly, I've got no knowledge of electronics, so I don't know if this is necessarily right, but it looks certainly comprehensive. And as you can see, it's spitting out quite a lot of information, and I don't want or care all of that. So I might just say to it, give me one short para to summarize. Terrible spelling, abbreviating words. It doesn't care.
We've got a question in the chat.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Are we going to hear about specific PMO use cases of AI?
We are going to talk. Yeah, we're going to talk. In fact, the next slide is about project schedules. So yeah, we're going to talk at a quite high level. But yes, we are. So I just wanted to show you really what it would do with a picture of a technical diagram. And of course, you can put pictures of anything in there and ask it to explain. Let's go back from the slide. So the next one I wanted to share with you was a Primavera P6 schedule. Now, the thing to note about project schedules, and we have experimented with this a fair bit, is that ChatGPT in particular, and I use that as an example, they're all broadly the same. I use that one because that's the one I'm using the most. It doesn't really want to know about the native files for Primavera or for Microsoft Project. If you can download your schedule into a CSV file or to a PDF, it will do the analysis on it. It doesn't want the native. It just won't accept the native files. All right, excuse me. I'm trying to pick this. Won't let me pick it up. Let me come back to it. There we go. So I'll do the same with that. I'll just get rid of that. Can't see. I'll shoot over to ChatGPT again. Start a new window. Drop the schedule in there. This file actually, it looks like an image. It's not. It's a PDF that I've just picked up and put on the slide just to make it easy for today. So the file type is a PDF. Please give me a summary of project status. This was a file I found online. It's actually a schedule for a house build, and it was on a website just talking about Primavera files, essentially. So very quickly and easily, it gives me an overview of project status. One of the things that I use this for is not so for me from a kind of PMO perspective, I'm not just worried about project status. I actually want to understand how well the schedule has been put together. So what is the quality of this schedule? So it has actually started to talk a little bit about quality, and I think that's because I did a run through and I've asked this question to the model before and it remembers. So it's addressed the question before I've asked it. So you can see now that it's given me a summary of how good it thinks the quality of the schedule information is. So it's detailed, tasks are clear. We've got dependencies, we've got progress bars, we've got milestones. So you can see there it's giving us some information on the quality. It's also given us suggestions improvement. The first time I asked it what the quality was like, it actually didn't do that. So again, it's remembering that suggestions for improvement are important to me. And that's, again, as I said earlier, one of the nice things that you can do, as well as just asking it to provide information, ask if the information is good. What's missing? Where are the gaps?
Louise, we've got a request saying, can you slow down? Please slow down with moving through the text, please.
Yeah, okay, sure.
And also a question.
I'll go back to the top and just scroll through it slowly while we go to the next question. Yeah.
Next question is, can you ask it to identify any risks, delays, and provide improvements and suggestions?
Sure. Yeah. Risks, delays. What was the other thing? Sorry.
Risks, delays, and provide improvements, stroke suggestions.
If you could put yourself on mute, please. If you have just come in. I think I can do it. There we go. We'll go. So they look a bit generic to me, but I think that's probably because the information in the schedule isn't very detailed. I say I've picked this stuff up from the internet. I have tested it with real project schedules, and you can get some really good data. It's very good at highlighting if dependencies are missing, if resources are missing, if you're using kind of hard constraints and things like that. So it works well. Because the data isn't really good in this, we're getting quite a generic answer. I found the accuracy around schedule analysis to be quite good. Again, you always have to check it. And there'll be, in most schedules, there'll be omissions because you haven't got the information yet or the schedule isn't fully developed. You, of course, need that human lens to tell you some of that stuff. You got your hand up, David?
Yeah, more questions coming in.
Yeah.
Can it write a paragraph report for client on status of schedule and if everything is on track? And can you show it? Can you do an example of that now, please?
Yeah, sure. Oh. Now, the other thing to call out here is I have this set up with the way I want it to talk to me. So one of the settings, it's been ages since I've done it actually. We could spend an hour just on setting ChatGPT up actually. So I won't go into it in too much detail, but I have it set up to speak to me in a business tone. I have it set up to respond to me using Australian English rather than US English. And I tried to train it to not give me really flowery descriptive language because the default is very flowery. So there's two ways of doing that. Of course, the most recent versions of ChatGPT remember. So back when I started using it, every time I would ask it to write something, I would say, write it again, but this time use business language or write in plain English. They put a setting on, I think 2 releases ago, that meant you could preset that so you didn't have to keep asking. And as I say, now it remembers across chat as well. So what I'm getting here might not be what you would get, because I've spent quite a bit of time kind of setting it up and training it to speak the way I want it to speak.
Another question in the chat.
Yeah.
From Bastian, could you mix different data sources together? For example, identify delays due to personnel being on leave and incidents such as flooding, people can't come to work, etc.
I haven't tried it. I have put multiple files in at once, and it does respond to multiple files. So if you put a schedule and a risk register in for the same project, you would extract data from both of those files. It handles that no problem at all. I'll move on to the next example if we've got no more questions. So again, I just kind of wanted to show you the same thing, but with a risk register. Get rid of that. Sorry, I'm skipping between a PC and a Mac, and I've got my command keys all mixed up. Where are we? So this, again, I just found this on the internet. I can't remember where I got it from. It looked like a reasonable example of a project risk register, but I'll pop it in here. And I'll just say, please provide the top 3. Please provide a summary of the project status, including the top 3 risks, and see what it gives us. I don't think this was exactly the prompt I used last time, but we'll see what pops out. And again, you can see it's given me what I've asked for, but because I keep interrogating artifacts and looking for quality, it's given me, without me asking it, it's actually given me some questions, some comments around the quality. And if I say, will this project finish on time? It's not going to give me a yes, no answer, but it's given me some suggestions. It's uncertain. Again, I'll just do a really quick one on this. So this is a lessons learned register. Now this is, I didn't find this on the internet. I took this from a lessons learned exercise we did, but I actually anonymized the data. So because I wanted to use something where I did know what the quality of it is. So if I drop that in. How many lessons are in this table, and which lessons are systemic across the business rather than into this project? Let's see what it does. Again, I used a slightly different prompt last time, so I'm just okay, it's because I've taken the data, some of the data out. Not getting much on that one. But what I used that, and I actually, I'm just going to the next slide. I actually use this lessons learned table, and I asked it to pretend we'd have a meeting to talk about lessons learned, and generate the meeting minutes, and it came up with this, and then what I did with that was just putting it back in and say, please provide doesn't matter actually, but summary of actions. So I've given it some meeting minutes, and this is one of the ways we use ChatGPT every day, and it's to summarize information. So when you're dropping files in documents, it's a little bit more forgiving with file types. It'll happily engage with Microsoft Word. Yeah, it's not giving me the actual data for some reason. That's probably because it's taken it from I've taken it from that lessons learned table. Oh, never mind. So you can see it did have some actions, or maybe I've put the actions off. But yeah, one of the key ways we use this tool in practice is summarizing information, whether it's Word documents, reports, meeting minutes. Take the file either as a Word document or a PDF, drop it in here, and you will get a summary. It saves so much time. It'll also help you. It's very good at transcribing information. The latest version will let you take a picture of a whiteboard or of anything really. And again, it will let you analyze that information from a picture. So if you're anything like me and your handwriting's a bit dodgy and you write handwritten notes, I take a picture of my notes, put it into ChatGPT, and it transcribes it for me really, really nicely. How are we going for time? The other thing I wanted to show you, which I think is a really good project tool, and this works for any document, whether it's project management plan, business case. I'll just copy and paste the prompt. Start a new chat. Oh, no, I don't want that one. So ask me questions about my projects. So that's all very well and good, but that's not what I want. I want to say, I think that's one question at a time. See, it's doing quite a good job of the key headings that should be in a project management plan. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but that doesn't really help me build a project management plan. But if I ask it to ask me one question at a time, I'll just put nothing data in there. Oh, too smart. That's project 1. So if I get it to prompt me one question at a time, I'll go back to the one I made earlier. I'm not sure I can actually, because as you can see, I use it so much. PMO. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. But when I was testing this, what I did is I got it to ask me one question at a time, and I went right through the project. Then I asked it to compile all of the answers into a Word document, and it actually downloaded them into a Word document that I could download from ChatGPT. So it generated a Word file for me. Fantastic. Again, a huge productivity saving. It even used our corporate colours because I've set it up to use our colour scheme from our website. So awesome. Still, you're still going to have to go in. You're still going to have to finesse it. It's not going to put us out of the job. What it gives us, if we let it provide too much information, the information can be very generic. You can see with the headings. Yeah, it's not a bad start, but it wouldn't. They're not the headings that are going to be in any project management plan that I've written. There'll be specifics in there. There'll be things missing. It's not a bad start.
Louise, we've got lots of interesting comments and chat going on. Sky says PMI has an AI tool, Infinity, which is available for members using ChatGPT 4, she thinks. Question from Gopi, are organizations finding it safe to use AI tools in their daily projects, especially when it involves uploading organizational data, and what guidelines are available around this?
I'm going to talk about risks in a second, actually, so it's a great question.
And Diana comments, do not upload organizational data.
No. Again, we'll talk about that. And one of the reasons why I have used other files, which say this one was a bit useless because it was anonymized, and things that are freely available on the internet. And I'll talk a little bit about why I've done that in a second. Let me go back to here. So one of the things that's kicked off the conversation around AI so much at the moment is that more and more organizations are using Copilot, which is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT, but it's actually potentially much more powerful than that, because it can answer your questions based on your organizational information. Now, I switched on our version of Copilot just a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, I'm using a Mac at the moment, and it won't work on a Mac the way it does on a PC. So I'm not gonna. I had an example to show you. When I was working on my laptop, I went in and said, please provide a summary of our work health and safety policy, and it went to our SharePoint site, and it took that 10-page document and gave me a couple of paragraphs of summary. And I've been asking it for things like, do we have a policy for this, and do we have a policy for that? And it comes back and it tells me that we do, and it tells me where to find it. So I'm loving using Copilot. What I am finding with it, though, is, and Copilot does utilize ChatGPT in the background. They actually own, I don't know if it's 10% of OpenAI. So Microsoft and OpenAI are partners, but I'm finding that the responses I get from ChatGPT are much better than I get from Copilot, unless I'm looking for organizationally specific information. So if I'm just doing my normal give me some ideas for this or summarize that, I am still using ChatGPT rather than Copilot. As Copilot learns more about me and about the people in the organization, it will probably get better. Again, I've been on quite a long journey with ChatGPT, so I think that's why the quality seems to me to get so much better. So I did have an example, but unfortunately, due to a last-minute computer change, I can't show you. Just again on a thumbs up or a hands up, who's using Copilot in their organizations right now? Good, Wendy. Just one? Is that what we got? Yeah. Well, that surprises me. So the reason that more organizations aren't switching it on is because of the risks, and we've touched on some of them already. I think part of the problem is we don't fully know what the risks are yet, but I think if we break them down, they fall into three main categories. So the first one being, we don't know where this data goes. I would never upload our organizational information or the information of our customers within an open language model. Excuse me. Copilot is perhaps a little bit different because it's within your enterprise environment. So we do have all of our commercial files within our existing Microsoft environment, where it's secure. So Copilot is referencing that, but I would never upload it to an open model like ChatGPT, even though they're same. They're supposed to be kind of the same in terms of output. Our enterprise version of Copilot is ring-fenced, and Microsoft say it's safe. Can we believe Microsoft? Don't know. But certainly we trust them with everything else we do, right? We trust them with our enterprise security, trust them with our privacy. So I don't see any reason not to trust them with the AI at this point. So, you know, your organization, if they haven't already, should soon have a policy on the use of AI tools. I know that many organizations have locked them away, can't access ChatGPT. They're certainly not going to turn Copilot on. But then there's another section of organizations. The large banks are really all over this, probably because they want to make productivity savings. But they are really doubling down on AI and using it for everything, and people are encouraged to play with it. So there's kind of organizations are falling in two broad camps at the moment. I think, you know, there's nothing wrong at all with playing around with it. You don't have to put sensitive data in it. Don't just use it anonymously. Dave, question?
A question from Tony. Can it be used to generate spreadsheets, create MPP files or PPT PowerPoint slide decks? Can it give me a spreadsheet with formulas to analyze project forecast versus actual costs with cumulative line graphs?
Yeah, it won't give you MPP files, but it will give you, it's great with Excel. And actually, I'm even finding that ChatGPT is better with Excel than Copilot. Now, that doesn't make any sense, given it's a native Microsoft functionality. Again, it could be the fact that it's used to the way I want to work. And I'm probably still, fair to say, I'm probably still learning the ropes a bit with Copilot. So great with Excel formulas. You can ask it to do things in simple language, and it will just do them. I forget what it was I was trying to do the other day. I just made a, normally I'd spend kind of half an hour, 45 minutes, because, you know, my expert Excel user days are long behind me. It takes me ages to kind of get the if statements and the VLOOKUPs. I should just give it to someone else to do. But rather than messing about, I actually just asked it to do something, and it created the formula. So fantastic for Excel. We'll do, I'm pretty sure, most of what you're thinking of, if not all. It will also generate PowerPoints. I've had mixed success with PowerPoints. It can never do as much as I'd like it to do, but it can, and I'm sure it will only get better. But project files is a no. Of course, the information I'm giving you is only as good as I know, and only valid today, because the advancements in this technology mean that could be different next week. So play around, try things, and if they don't work today, they probably will work soon. So that's the whole data privacy security issue. We just don't know where the data goes. And so anything sensitive, you would be well advised to give it a wide berth. The other big issue is that, you know, oftentimes they will generate an incorrect response. They will confidently tell you the wrong thing. They will never come back and say, I don't know, or I think. They will give you an answer. And the reason we use the term hallucinate is because it creates an alternative reality. And so you've got to be very careful to fact check. I did got it to kind of populate a data table for me, and it was very repetitive information. And actually, it just started going its own way about halfway through, and just repeating things rather than generating the new thing. It got it right for 50, 60%, and then it just kind of went its own way. I put it back in and asked it to do it again, and it got it right. But we've got to assume that it's going to be wrong and check it like it's going to be wrong. The other thing in there to mention is these models come with built-in biases. One of the things it's really good at, in fact, I'll demonstrate this because this has come on leaps and bounds in the last version. Let's give it is image generation, and image generation, I've noticed a lot of bias, and so the responses will, you know, you've always got to be aware that you might get biases in your response, but I'll see if it'll do it for me. It might not, because picture of a business meeting with a frog at the head of the, really, I'm just making this up. Let's see what it gives us. What I'm expecting it will give us is mostly men at the table. Whenever I generate images, they are. Sometimes there'll be a couple of women, but they're mostly men. Now, it might not do it for me now because I will always go back and say, please put some women in this. So I've got a good mix there. Again, that's because I've trained the model. If you try it, see what you get. I think you might notice that you'll get it's quite a good picture, isn't it? Play around with the images. It's lots of fun. Dave?
Got a question. To use ChatGPT with Excel, is it necessary to download the extension? Because Ariana says it doesn't work for her.
I don't believe so. I certainly haven't downloaded anything extra. I just drop the files in, just save it as an XLS file, or you can try a CSV file. I haven't done anything differently. I'm sorry, I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery, that one.
Any other questions while we've got a little bit of break?
Yes, what I meant was like to work directly on the Excel spreadsheet. You have to download the extension, but I use Mac, and
oh yeah,
when I try to download the extension, it doesn't work.
It doesn't like Macs. Again, it's because of the Microsoft tie-up. It was just announced this week that Apple are going to use ChatGPT for their AI functionality. And actually, when I logged into ChatGPT today, I don't know if you can see it here. It did give me the option to download an app for Mac. So I'm on a Mac now, and I couldn't. Copilot wouldn't work for me, and so it's most of the time I do use a Windows PC, so I haven't had any problems with Excel. I probably haven't tried it on the Mac, but yeah, I tried Copilot earlier and it just wasn't having it. But I say they've announced a partnership this week, so I would expect that to change. Go back to this. So biases, gremlins, hallucinations. Assume what you are going to get out of these tools is incorrect until you've checked them. The other big risk, and I'm guilty of this sometimes as well, is that we stop using our brains. You know, if you get something complex to do, I always just ask ChatGPT first. Excel's a perfect example of that. I've saved so much time not messing about in Excel because I will just ask ChatGPT to do it for me. And usually you will have to get that prompt right. So it often won't do what I want it to do straight away. The other thing it does sometimes is when I ask it to do something in Excel, it's a big request, so it generates lots of data. And so it wants to give me a Python script. And I'm not a coder. I can kind of fix things if they look wrong, but I can't write code from scratch. And I'm struggling to get the Python code to run. Even when I ask ChatGPT to find the mistakes, I've spent hours and hours trying to work out how to get this stuff done. So it's very easy to just go to ChatGPT and say, do this for me. And often it will do it for you, but it's, again, you can't just stop using your brains. If you rely on it too much and start to take what it gives you, you can see, because the text it spits out is generic, it's a bit soulless. You can look at LinkedIn actually and see how many people are, you can start to see what the text that ChatGPT produces, because it's got the same feel to it. It's a little bit soulless and generic. And lots of people are just asking it, oh, please, write me a LinkedIn post about X, copying and pasting. It's not a substitute for the human brain, and so we can't stop using our brain just because we've got great tools to make things easy for us. All right, I'll pause and stop sharing and answer any questions. And certainly I want to ask you guys what your experiences are in a second as well. But before I do that, I just wanted to tell you about an event we've got coming up. So on the 30th and 31st of July, we've got the Project Management Technology Showcase coming up at the Hilton in Sydney. We're really pleased to invite anybody on this webinar to come for half price by using the code on the screen. One of the topics that will be talked about a lot in the showcase will be AI. We've got 9 technology partners that will be joining us, and all of them will be demonstrating and talking about either the functionality that uses AI in their tools today, but certainly what's coming up on the roadmap and how that will impact day-to-day work, because the AI will be inherent in the new generation of PPM tools. We've also got a panel discussion, I think it's on day one actually, talking about how our panel think AI is going to change the game for project professionals. So if you can make it, we'd love to help you. Sorry, Dave.
I should mention that the panelists are from SBS, Unity Water and Origin Energy, and they will be sharing how their organizations are using AI and some of the pluses and pitfalls.
Yeah, and the panelists we've got actually are all well on the AI journey as well. So they've got quite a bit of experience to share as well. So if you're interested in that, we would love to see you. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Very keen to hear from anybody who's got any experience to contribute to the group or any further questions.
There's a question from Mason there in the chat. Are there good AI tools to generate project timelines?
It's a great question. I haven't tried to do that, but I'm sure you probably could. So the answer to the question is I don't know. Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Guy. I've just opened the chat actually. Any other questions? Is anybody feeling like they've got some things that we could all learn? Any power users want to share their tricks and tips with us? No?
Hi, Louise. It's Amani here.
Oh, hi, Amani.
Hi. Just want to confirm the bias that these tools have.
Yeah.
So, like at the end of the day, they are scanning whatever is out there on the web, plus they are acting according to what they have been eventually programmed by human beings. And therefore, that unconscious bias from human beings is translating to unconscious bias into these tools. And therefore, we need to be careful. Just like the picture you showed us, where we've got females on one side, males on one side, there's a lot in terms of the unconscious bias if you try to start asking questions about fairness, respectfulness, having the same rights for people, and so on.
Yeah, thanks, Amani. Great comment. Final questions? If we don't have any, we might wrap it up. Please don't hesitate if you have any questions or comments. Always happy to have an email. And on that note, Baz, do you have a question or no? On that note, let's call it a day. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.